The Silent Hill 2 remake is a hauntingly beautiful, complex, emotional, and flawed experience. This remake takes pieces of the original and treats them with respect and improves them in a lot of ways, but it also seems to have missteps in ways you would think would be no-brainers when it comes to evolving this formula and making it more accessible for modern audiences. It's weird. In today's video, I not only want to go over why I actually recommend this, but I want to talk about a lot of the problems. But for me, the problems were pretty undermined by the greatness. It might not be the same way for you. Before you make any decisions on purchasing this game, maybe listen, because some of these flaws might steer you away depending on what you're looking for in this game and in games like it. Now, real quick before we get into this, I actually want to promote my second channel. It's down below. Go sub to it, Boogs Reacts. We just do reaction stuff over there. It's just a fun little channel. I react to game trailers, really anything. But just want to do a quick promo. Sorry, shameless. So, first and foremost, I want to talk about the bad. But first, let me kind of give you guys an idea on what this remake is trying to do for those who may not know. This remake is trying to bring the original's beauty and bring the original's greatness back up to the forefront with a new camera angle, new gameplay mechanics, and a whole reimagining of the original, but it's trying to stay as faithful as humanly possible. But that was the goal, is to bring this to modern audiences so people like you and me can experience it, who maybe weren't around regardless. That was the goal of this remake. And I want to basically go over, do I think it succeeded in that regard? Fully. Not at all. I don't think it succeeded in that. Now, does this make it bad? Not by any stretch of the imagination. But I will say some of the gameplay elements here, for the more modern people who are used to the newer survival horror games, it might be aggravating. So real quick, let's go over the gameplay, because these are where most of my flaws lie. Now, this will be no spoilers when it comes to the story or, you know, any big story moments, but I will be talking about weapons, I will be talking about level design, and I will be showing the first hour of the game, you know, in the background footage of this video. So with all that out of the way, let's finally get into my full review of the Silent Hill 2 remake after 30 hours of playtime. So let's start off with the gameplay. It is very akin to the Resident Evil remakes, but it's worse in most ways, to be honest with you, when it comes to the actual fluidity of the combat. The firearms in this game, you have a couple, right? From what I found in my run, I had around, I think it was three. I had a hunting rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. Now, these weapons do their job, but I will say, shooting them, the way they feel, the sound design behind them, it's rough. It's rough around the edges. It's not up to the standards and quality that you would see in something like even the Resident Evil 2 remake and games before that. It feels very odd and a bit clunky firing these weapons. Now, the actual aiming, all that, it feels like it should, but the weapons here, the firearms at least, didn't feel particularly great to use. The firearms here didn't feel particularly great. They had a weird feeling, just there was something mistuned, there's something missing there, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but just even the way enemies reacted to being shot, and it just wasn't for me. The firearms were just not it. So they have a melee system. You get 2 melee weapons in your first playthrough. You start off with a wooden, you know, 2x4, and then you get a pipe later on. And the melee system has some problems. One of which being it's super clunky as well. You lock on to enemies, you have no control over it either. And depending on where you are in the level, being, you know, enclosed with 2 enemies coming after you and trying to swing and attacking the wrong one can be life or death. And that happened a lot. I would have cases where I would go to swing, and an enemy would be 2 feet in front of me, but I'll just miss. Even though it locked onto him, it just missed. The melee system was super finicky, especially when I would be trying to walk over to cars and smash in the windows to get ammunition you might find and stuff like that. The melee system just had targeting issues. Now, it actually feels pretty good when it's working. It feels impactful, it feels weighty, it feels strong, and it feels brutal. It feels visceral. It's fun. But Callisto Protocol was too, and you saw the problems with that. And it's very, very similar to Callisto Protocol. And I'm honestly surprised no one's mentioned it, because it's significantly worse than Callisto. Believe it or not, it is significantly worse melee system. So, that's a great start. I know some people are already, oh, I'm not buying this. hear me out. The combat is really not what you're here for. It isn't. What you're actually in this for, and this is why I said that this is depending on who you are as a gamer and what you're actually looking for in this type of game. What you're in this for is your exploration, your resource management, and those parts are done well. You can find ammunition and syringes and healing items, and you can stock up. You can have unlimited amounts of it. And I liked it. I liked the lack of restriction. You could pick up as many healing items, as much ammo as you wanted. So if you were smart, you could, have a shit ton of ammo for when a boss comes around and kill them and still have a shit ton of ammo left over after the fact. So depending on how well you are at managing, you could be really well off or just really worse. And I really liked the way they handled that. It was beautiful. I looked around for everything. It felt satisfying walking through a level and finding things that, I know some people did miss. It made me feel it was rewarding. It made me feel like, okay, I kept my eye out and I got rewarded for paying attention to the world around me. It encouraged exploration so much, not only by your resource management, but also by the way they handle the puzzles. When you're exploring, a lot of these puzzles are not right up in your face. Some of them you have to actually pick up things and look around and look for clues in the actual map and stuff. It's very interesting. I really like the way they handled the actual world here. Keeping an eye out for your surroundings is super rewarding and super good. It's helpful. It helps you maintain a feeling of, you almost feel like you're investigating and you're finding things. It gives you this rewarding feeling that you can't really find in Resident Evil. I can't put my finger on it, but I loved the exploration. I loved looking around and finding my items. All the survival horror aspects when it comes to the resource management, I think was done pretty perfect. And with the exploration, like I said, the world matters. Looking around, keeping an eye open. When I got to the city for the first time, I went on the map and I went to every single building that you could go into. All the ones that were marked, even the one, I found one that wasn't even labeled. I mean, I went into every building because it made me want to. Once I realized, oh shit, this game has stuff hidden around. I started looking in every car. I started looking in every building, like I said, looked on the ground, looked under stuff. They really hide some stuff from you here. It does not hold your hand with a lot of stuff like that. Now, like I said, the puzzles are ingrained in the world. And I want to talk a bit about the puzzles here. They were so fucking fun. I loved every bit of it. It made you feel like a genius, even though they probably were relatively simple. You felt smart. It makes you feel like, wow, I really just did that. Didn't need to look nothing up. I didn't look nothing up one time. And the puzzles were challenging, but they were challenging to a point where I was so determined to figure out what I needed to do. And once I finally hit it and got over the little hurdle, it was a rewarding feeling that is hard to find anywhere else, especially with the way games are being made now. So there's the exploration, there's the resource management, there's the combat. Let's talk about some of the enemies you'll be going against in this experience. They all looked really cool. They had really awesome designs, pretty faithful to the original. Some changes were a little weird for me. I think the designs there were really good. Here's the problem. The variety here is non-existent. You fight maybe 4 enemies the whole game. The same 4 or 5. And at times it can feel a bit repetitive. But the combat serves its purpose enough to where those parts didn't overstay their welcome. For me, I was able to kind of ignore them. Just focus on the story. And I just was able to focus on the story and was able to focus on the world, the exploration. And those are really the key pieces here that hold Silent Hill 2 together, is the story and exploration. I'm not going to get into story spoilers, but I will say the story is fantastically well written, well voice acted. It has some problems. It's not perfect, but I overall enjoyed it. It was definitely a bit confusing. It was a bit mind-boggling, but it had a creep factor and a weirdness and that dream-like feeling that you could feel in the original, and it was there. So it kept me invested throughout. Why is this person here? What's their connection to this? Why is this happening at this moment? Why is she just here out of nowhere? It's like people just popped up. And the way they handled it, I thought was a very interesting story. And especially once you finish the game and you're still like, what the fuck? You don't even know what happened. You go watch a video and then it explains it to you and then you're even like, oh shit. It's cool. The story is, it's amazing. It's definitely a highlight. I was waiting to see what would happen in between all the horrific maneuvering I had to do through these labyrinths, these mazes, these levels, guys, are just so stretched out and open. There's so much of them. There's so many different shortcuts and rooms and stuff hidden everywhere, and fucking puzzle to unlock this puzzle, and then you do this puzzle, and then you can go down here, then you get a weird cutscene, and then you go fight a boss. Like, just the gameplay loop, guys, is fucking addicting. It's fun. A great story, great exploration, fun resource management with some mid-tier combat. I think this makes for an experience that you have to play. Have to. And that's gonna be it for me, guys. Silent Hill 2 will forever be remembered by me. It was unforgettable, and I do recommend it. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to drop some likes down below, subscribe for more reviews, more gameplay, and please go check out my second channel. See ya.